Welcome back to the social class, dear students. We are going to start third lesson in history, rural life and society. So this is the first video of this lesson. So learning objectives. First one, to know the land revenue policy under the British rule. So we'll be learning about the land revenue policy under the British rule. Second one, to understand the merits and demerits of the land revenue policy. So there are merits and demerits of land revenue policy. We'll be understanding what it is. And the last one is to know the agrarian crisis and revolts. So agrarian is nothing but agriculture. Okay. Agriculture is nothing. Agrarian is nothing but agriculture. Got it? Yes. So introduction of the lesson. In the pre-colonial period, Indian economy was predominantly an agrarian economy. So in the pre-colonial period, our Indian economy was predominantly an agrarian economy. What is agrarian? I told you, it's agriculture. Okay, it's based upon agriculture economy. We got incomes from agriculture. Agriculture was then the primary occupation of the people, and even industries like textiles, sugar, oil, etc. were dependent on it. So we were having other primary occupation other than agriculture, such as industries like textiles were there, sugar and oil were there. Okay, next one. The British government in India did not adopt a pro-Indian agriculture and land revenue policy, but British government introduced three major land revenue and tenurial systems in India, namely the permanent settlement, the Mahalwari settlement and the Roytwari settlement. So what were the settlements introduced by British? Permanent settlement, Mahalwari settlement and Roytwari settlement were introduced by the British. Three major land revenue. Okay. The economic exploitation of the peasants led to the revolt in future. So peasants are nothing but farmers. Okay. The land revenue policy under the British, as we saw. So how many revenue system they introduced? They introduced three kinds of revenue system, isn't it? First one is permanent settlement. Second one is Roytwari settlement. And third one is Mahalwari settlement. Okay. So permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. Roytwari system was introduced by Thomas Munro, and Mahalwari system was introduced by Lord William Bentinck. Lord William Bentinck. Now we'll see what is permanent settlement. When Robert Clive obtained the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa in 1765, there used to be an annual settlement, that is, of land revenue. Warren Hastings changed it from annual to quinquennial and back to annual again. That is, quinquennial is nothing but 5 yearly. Okay, quinquennial. Quinquennial is nothing but recurring every 5 years. Okay, they have given in bracket 5 yearly. During the time of Cornwallis, a 10 years, that is decennial settlement was introduced in 1793 and it was known as permanent settlement. Okay, earlier period when Robert Clive, he obtained Diwani in Bihar, Bengal and Orissa in the year 1765. There used to be annual settlement of land revenue. Every year land revenue will be collected as annual settlement. Okay. Later, Warren Hastings, he changed from annual settlement to every 5 years they are supposed to settle the revenue. Okay, not for the year, but every 5 years. That is quinquennial. Quinquennial is nothing but recurring every 5 years. Okay, during the time of Cornwallis, he changed it to 10 years. Okay, so that was introduced in the year 1793 by whom? Cornwallis. Okay, Lord Cornwallis. Okay, and that was known as what? Permanent settlement. We saw in the chart, isn't it? Permanent settlement was introduced by whom? Lord Cornwallis. Next, permanent settlement were made in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Varanasi, division of UP and northern Karnataka, which roughly covered 19% of the total area of British India. So, permanent settlement was made in all these places. Where else? Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Varanasi, division of UP, that is Uttar Pradesh, and northern Karnataka. Okay, roughly 19% of total area of British India. It was known by different names like Zamindari, Jagirdari, Malguzari, and Bisvedari. So this was permanent settlement was called in different name in different places. Okay, one was Zamindari system, permanent settlement. Okay, second one was Jagirdari system, third one Malguzari, and fourth one is Bisvedari. So all these four are known as what? Permanent settlement in different names. Okay. Next, salient features of the permanent settlement. The zamindars were recognized as the owners of land as long as they paid the revenue to the East India Company regularly. So this one you have in short answer. Okay, the complete points you have in short answer, starting from here to here. So this is up to this cultivators we have as first short answer. Okay. First point, the zamindars were recognized as the owners of the land as long as they paid the revenue to the East India Company regularly. When the zamindars they paid revenues to the East India Company, they were the owner of the land. That is the meaning for the first point. Second point, the zamindars acted as the agent of the government for the collection of revenue from the cultivators. So what the zamindars they were acting? They were acting as the agent between government and the cultivator in order to collect the revenue. Okay, they need to collect the revenue and submit it to East India Company. That was their main work. Okay. Third point, the amount of revenue that the zamindars had to pay to the company was firmly fixed and would not be raised under any circumstances. So the East India Company has fixed how much they are supposed to pay. Okay, so the revenue amount will be paid to zamindars. The amount of revenue that zamindars had to pay to the company will be firmly fixed by the East India Company, and in any circumstances it will not be raised. So next point, they gave 10 by 11 of the revenue collected by them from the cultivator to the government. So they need to give, so 10 by 11, that is out of 11, 10%. 10 for example, we can take, if they have taken reaped 11 bags of rice, they need to give 10 bags of rice to the government what they have cultivated. Okay, next one, the zamindars would grant patta, that is written agreements. Patta is nothing but written agreements to the royals. The royals become tenants since they were considered the tiller of the soil. Last point, all judicial powers were taken away from the zamindars. So these were the silent features of the permanent settlement. Next, merits. So even you have this in as a detailed question answer, merits and demerits. Okay, first detail. So merits. Under this system, many of the wastelands and forests became cultivable lands. So under this permanent settlement, all the wasteland, many wasteland and forests became the cultivable lands. They made the lands as agricultural land. Okay. Next one, the zamindars became the owner of the land. So all the zamindars, they became the owner of the land also. Third one, the zamindars were made free from the responsibility of providing justice. So they were made free from the responsibilities, okay, and they were provided justice. Next one, the zamindars remained faithful to the British government. So when collecting the revenues and submitting it, they were remaining very faithful to the British government. And the last point, this system secured a fixed and stable income for the British government. So this system, permanent settlement, secured and it fixed the stable income for the British government. British government were regularly getting the income from the land revenue, okay, as the land revenue. Next one is demerits. First point, the British government had no direct contact with the cultivators. Why? Because zamindars were acting as the link between whom? They were acting as the agent between cultivators and the British government, isn't it? So the first demerit was what? British government was not at all having any direct contact with the cultivators. Okay, second one, the rights of the cultivators were ignored and they were left at the mercy of the zamindars. Okay, all the cultivators rights, okay, the rights of the cultivators were ignored and it was left to the mercy of the zamindars. So zamindars were taking over the cultivators and they were not having any rights also. Okay, third one, the peasants were almost treated as serfs. Serfs is nothing but slaves. Okay, peasants are nothing but farmers. Okay, the one who is cultivating the land, okay, doing agriculture is called as what? Farmers, right? Peasants. So they were almost treated as serfs. Serfs are nothing but slaves by the zamindars. Fourth point, this system was made the zamindars lethargic and luxurious. Zamindars were having more luxurious life by collecting this land revenue and submitting to the British, okay, and they were very lethargic, okay, they were very free, they were not worried about anything, okay. And the last point, many conflicts between the zamindars and the peasants arose in rural Bengal. So there were conflicts, okay, fight against the fight were between the zamindars and many peasants around the rural Bengal. Next one is Roy-Twari system. So first we saw what? Permanent settlement. So permanent settlement we saw, then silent features of permanent settlement we saw, and next merits and demerits of permanent settlement we saw. So now the second revenue system was what? Roy-Twari system. Roy-Twari system was introduced by Thomas Munro, as we saw in the chart, isn't it? And Captain Reed in 1820. So this was introduced by whom? Thomas Munro and Captain Reed. Captain Reed is a name, right? In the year 1820. Major areas of introduction of Roy-Twari system included Bombay, Madras, and parts of Assam and Coorg Province of British India. So these were the areas introduced. These were the areas introduction of Roy-Twari system were included. What were they? Madras, Bombay, parts of Assam and Coorg. Okay. By Roy-Twari system, the rights of ownership was handed over to the peasants. So here the rights of ownership was handed over to whom? To the peasants. Next point, British government collected taxes directly from the peasants. So in Roy-Twari system, British government, they were collecting taxes directly from whom? From the peasants. Whereas in permanent settlement, they kept whom? Zamindars. Zamindars were collecting in permanent settlement. Whereas Roy-Twari system, the government itself, that is British government itself, they collected taxes directly from the peasants. Initially, one half of the estimated produce was fixed as rent. So the one half of the estimated produce, how many they are producing, that is one half from that as that is fixed as what? Rent for the land. Okay, this assessment was reduced to one third of the produce by Thomas Munro. So Thomas Munro, he reduced it to one third. So earlier it was one half and later he changed it to one third. The revenue was based on the basis of the soil and the nature of the crop. So what kind of soil it is, whether it is fertile soil or normal fertile soil, or what kind of crop they are cultivating. According to that, the rent and revenue has been fixed. Next, rents would be periodically revised, generally after 20 to 30 years. Okay, the rent will be revised after 20 to 30 years, okay, according to the period. Okay, the position of the cultivators became more secure. So in this system, the settlement was made between the government and the Roids. In fact, the government later claimed that the land revenue was a rent and not a tax. So the government later they claimed what? Land revenue was the tax they made it, and they didn't was rent they made it, and they and that was not the tax. So this is the picture of Thomas Munro. Next, salient features of the Royatory system. So even this one you have as a short answer, second short answer. Okay, all these 3 points. First point, revenue settlement was done directly with the Roids. So first, a silent feature what? Revenue system was done directly to the directly with the Roids. Okay. Second point, measurement of field and an estimate of produce was calculated. So measurement of the field was done and estimation of the produce was also calculated. Third point, government fixed the demand at 45% to 55% of the produce. So they fixed the demand. Earlier it was 45%. Later they changed to 55% of the produce. Effects of the Royatory system or settlement. In most areas, the land revenue fixed was excessive. The Roids were hardly left with bare maintenance even in the best of seasons. So what were the effects? First one, the land revenue, the most area, the land revenue was fixed, was excessive. Okay, they made it excessive, extra. The Roids were hardly left with bare maintenance. They didn't maintain their land properly, even in the best of their seasons. Okay. Next, under this system, the government exploited the farmers instead of zamindars. So, in this system, that is Royatory system, what the British government did, they exploited the farmers because they went directly to the farmers and collected the revenue, isn't it? So they exploited, they made more, they made the farmers to pay more revenue to the government. Okay, this in this system they didn't exploit zamindars, whereas they exploited whom? Peasants or farmers. Okay. Next one, the third system is what? Mahalwari system. So, Mahalwari system, a brainchild of Holt Mackenzie, was modified version of the Zamindar settlement introduced in the Ganga Valley, the Northwest Province, parts of the Central India and Punjab in 1822. That is, brainchild is nothing but it's a product of one's creative effort. It's called as what? Brainchild. Okay. So Mahalwari system, it was the brainchild of Holt Mackenzie. So Holt Mackenzie only first introduced this system. Okay. That was his idea. Okay. So brainchild is nothing but someone else's creative effort. Okay. So this was introduced, or this was this idea was came in the mind of whom? Holt Mackenzie, and it was modified version. Okay, it modified by Lord William Bentinck. Okay, a modified version of Zamindari settlement introduced in the Ganga Valley, the northwest provinces, part of the central India and Punjab in 1822. Lord William Bentinck was a suggests radical change in Mahalwari system by the guidance of Robert Martin Byrd in 1833. The assessment of revenue was to be made on the basis of the produce of a mahal or village. All the proprietors of a mahal were severely and jointly responsible for the payment of revenue. Initially, the state share was fixed 2/3 of the gross produce. Bentinck therefore reduced to 50%. The village as a whole, through its headman or lambardar, was required to pay the revenue. This system was first adopted in Agra and Awadh and later extended to other parts of the United Provinces. The burden of all this heavy taxation finally fell on the cultivators. So this is the picture of Lord William Bentinck. Salient features of the Mahalwari system. The lambardar acted as intermediaries between the government and the villagers. It was a village-wise assessment. One person could hold the number of villages. The village community was the owner of the village common land. The village land belonged to the village community. Next, effects of the Mahalwari system. So even this one we have as a short answer, third short answer. Okay. The lambardar enjoyed privileges which was misused for their self-interest. This system brought no benefit to the cultivators. It was a modified version of the zamindari system and benefited the upper class in villages. Impact of the British land revenue system. What were the impacts? A common feature of all the settlements was assessment and the maximized income from land. It resulted in increasing land sales and depositions. The peasants were overburdened with taxation. Due to the tax burden and famines, in general, the people suffered in poverty and burdened with debts. They had to seek the moneylenders who became rich and acquired lands from the peasants. The zamindars, moneylenders, and lawyers exploited the poor peasants. The stability and continuity of the Indian villages was shaken. Cottage industries disappeared on account of the import of British goods, and the peasants had nothing to supplement their income. The old body of custom was replaced by new apparature of law, courts, fees, lawyers, and formal procedures. The British policy proved advantageous only to the government of a privileged section of the society at the cost of cultivators who were the rightful owners of their lands and claimants of the large share of the produce. Okay, children, we'll just stop up to this. Next class, we shall start from peasants. Thank you and take care.